Georgetown's initiative on Catholic social thought and public life celebrates a decade of leadership and dialogue at the intersection of faith and public life. The initiative has become a respected center of principled dialogue in a divided capital. It's become a leader in sharing the principles of Catholic social teaching and the message of Pope Francis. It's become a place for young leaders to gather and talk about their responsibilities and opportunities.
When President DeJoy invited me to Georgetown to launch this initiative on Catholic social thought and public life, we had high expectations, but no one thought we would do 150 gatherings. We'd reach 250,000 people in less than 10 years.
What we do at the initiative is bring the principles of Catholic social thought, like a commitment to justice and the common good, to national and global conversations. We have dialogues with a difference, where we bring together people from across all sorts of divides, ideological, religious, racial, other divides, to have conversations, not speeches, about major public issues. We also convene national leaders in the Catholic Church and elsewhere to come together around how do we bring these principles to public life today. And then most of all, we encourage a new generation of young Catholics to see their faith as central to their life and work.
The initiative and its dialogues are an example of Georgetown's Catholic and Jesuit mission in action.
The initiative has helped to foster a rich context for us to understand the leadership of Pope Francis and his call for dialogue and encounter, his challenge to care for creation, and his commitment to the poor and the vulnerable.
These 150 dialogues and gatherings have reached more than 260,000 people in person and online. When COVID made in-person gatherings impossible, the initiative quickly pivoted to online dialogue, broadening its reach nationally and globally and deepening its impact.
That dialogue right at the beginning of the pandemic had so many people come together and say to themselves, how do we face this? How do we think about not just ourselves, but what we're doing as a community here in Washington, here at Georgetown, nationally and globally?
From the very beginning, the initiative took a distinctive approach to promoting principled dialogue and bringing leaders and people together to build bridges that seek the common good.
The initiative is really different. No one gives a speech. President Obama came to talk about poverty. We went to the White House and said we want the president to come, but we don't want him to give a speech. We want him to be a part of a discussion. And they said presidents don't do panels. Well, this president did a panel.
If, coming out of this conversation, we can have a both-and conversation rather than either-or conversation, then we'll be making some progress.
We have a focus on our Latino Leaders program, which brings up young Latino leaders to see their faith as an asset in their life and work.
We live in a very important city, Washington, D.C., where everything happens, political, business, religions. And I really love how the initiative and Georgetown in general try to build bridges between different religions, ideologies, and political affiliations.
We have become so polarized and have in so many different ways lost the ability to speak civilly to one another.
I think whether you're Catholic or not, the church plays an important role in society and particularly in politics, as it just brings so much awareness to how the church impacts policy, social life, social policy, and really helps integrate a lot of different aspects of life that are present.
The initiative invites leaders with diverse views, different backgrounds, and a variety of political and religious commitments.
If you are coming into these movements from simply the political, then you've missed the point. You've made God's message too small.
Diversity for us is not an option. It's an expression of who we are.
And in this country, because of the color of your skin, because of your sexual identity, because of your gender, there is a possibility that you will not return. And so much of our Christian teaching is about the miracle of Jesus' return and the joy that it brought. And if we could connect that idea that we just want the people we love to come back to us, then perhaps we would have a more humane approach to these questions.
Georgetown has kind of the resources to reach a lot of the key leaders that we need to listen to about a lot of these issues. It's also an environment that is open to and really conducive to a faith that does justice.
As an alum, there's a sense of pride that there's a commitment to these issues, a commitment to what it means in everyday life. And especially at a time when there seems to be so much division and people sitting on opposite sides of the aisle not willing to have conversations, the initiative is encouraging us to draw together to have these conversations.
I think there is a Catholic way, a Jesuit way, and a Georgetown way of bridging differences and lifting up moral principles that's really needed now. Pope Francis is the first Jesuit pope. Georgetown's the oldest Jesuit university in the United States. What better place to share the mission and message of Pope Francis?
And I think we lose a lot when we lose the concept that each person is made in the image of God. And if you put that at the center of your social worldview, and you could be a little more conservative as I am on economics and things, or you could be more liberal, but you'll probably be heading in the right direction.
We're so proud to be here at Georgetown. We're one piece of that great mosaic around the Georgetown community that helps lift up that Catholic and Jesuit identity and put these kinds of principles in the middle of students' conversations.
This essential work is urgently needed, and it's a vital sign of Georgetown's Catholic and Jesuit identity in action. This work is not only the product of an impressive 10 years, it is an investment in the future. The conversation has just begun at the Initiative on Catholic Social Thought and Public Life.